Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank, Our Country, Your Bank, and Smart, bringing people together.
Live from Channel 5 studio in Belize City, it's Open Your Eyes, Start Your Morning Right, with your hosts, Sabrina Daly and Isani Caetano.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I am Isani Caetano. Good morning.
And good morning, Isani.
Good wet Tuesday.
Wet Tuesday. It's good to have you here on a Tuesday morning.
Yes.
I know that you're the regular face to open the week, but it's always a pleasure hosting with you. How you doing?
I'm good. I took a little day off, or
Yeah.
a part day off yesterday.
You took a long weekend.
2.5 days, right?
Yes.
But I'm good. I'm great. Notwithstanding the weather outside, things feel a bit upbeat around the office this morning. And I'm hoping that we're able to keep that momentum as we go through the day.
You know, it's all about perspective. I say whenever we have these I'd say cooler temps. Sometimes it comes with a bit of rain. And so you don't always get exactly what you want. You get the cooler temps and we get to snuggle in or wear an extra layer. But with the rain, just consider that it's watering your plants. I know that Isani is also an avid gardener and he has his plants. So he might have been able to stay in a little bit later this morning because God watered his plants for him.
I've been able to save a few gallons of water
Right?
this
Even
morning,
that.
so I'm not complaining.
But Isani, we do have quite a few topics to jump into this morning. I know that there are several things happening both online and in the news, internationally and locally. So why don't we jump straight into what's buzzing? All right, well, the announcement was made yesterday. We heard via online news and then more formally that there was an ordeal that took place around Crooked Tree area.
Yeah, so there was an incident late evening on Monday. Shortly before 6 o'clock, we received word of shots being fired in a sports utility vehicle near the corner, or at the junction of Crooked Tree. And so we were able to respond. We quickly sent a news team out there, and preliminarily what we've been able to gather is that 2 persons succumbed to gunshot injuries inside the vehicle, a man and a woman, presumed to be a couple, right? The circumstances under which these persons lost their lives is still being investigated. What we have been able to ascertain is that they're both from the Boom area, right? And so the Belize Police Department will be tasked with investigating to find out exactly what took place. I know that several theories are out there already, none of which are actually confirmed as motives for this particular incident. And so for the time being, we'll leave it at that. Suffice to say that we are following this very closely in terms of having it as a news item, a major news item for our midday news, and of course, with a view to have more details at 6 p.m.
What we know for certain is that this is a time of tragedy for the families involved. As you mentioned, they come from Boom village. And so this was a couple who also had a child. And as I understand, that child is very young. And so my thoughts and prayers are not only with the family, but the child as well. And as soon as we gather more formal information as the investigation continues, we will be providing that with you guys. Moving, though, into another incident that took place over the weekend that was also reported in the news last night, Isani, and that was a situation that took place between 2 BDF soldiers that resulted in 1 fatality.
Yeah, so as we led our newscast with on Monday evening, there was a deadly shooting at the Cricket Circle outpost where 14 officers were stationed, 13 of them members of the Belize Defense Force, and a police officer who was also assigned to that particular location. Now, we have heard from the Brigadier General. We've also heard from the BDF Chief of Staff insofar as what they know transpired at the Cricket Circle outpost on Sunday night. Beyond that, however, are way more questions than answers at this point. I know that the question as to whether or not alcohol was involved came up very early on in the investigation, right? That is also yet to be ascertained based on samples and tests to be conducted. We also understand that the prime suspect refused to take an alcohol, a blood sample to have an alcohol test done.
Which was really all but him that
yes.
accepted in doing the blood sample.
Essentially waived any notion of him taking that sample or what have you. But I think all of this is set against the backdrop of the Belize Defense Force being under scrutiny once again, right? Over the past couple of months, our colleagues in the newsroom have been sort of keeping a close eye on developments within the Belize Defense Force, where wages are concerned, where rations for food, and all of these other things. And in that investigative piece that I'm referring to, the idea of BDF officers drinking on the job has essentially been raised as well. And so, as I'm mentioning, this did not necessarily come as a surprise. As a matter of fact, it was one of the first questions that was asked. But it is a difficult situation for anyone to find himself in from a leadership perspective.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, these are the men and women in uniform who are tasked with our national security from our frontier point, right? These are the ones who are on the borders. These are the ones who are making sure that our sovereignty remains intact. And when something like this happens, it's a black eye on the Belize Defense Force, but it also raises a lot of concerns about the conditions, right? Either mental state, either the conditions that they are subjected to work under, and so on and so forth. And even
their own safety.
Yes.
From their own peers.
This incident led to another document being shared with me. And I'll go on record to say that the information shared, as far as I am aware and as far as I'm concerned, presents no basis in fact. So I won't repeat any of those allegations. I'll simply speak to what seems to be other concerns within the military. Issues of sexual assault, issues of favors for promotions, and what have you.
Even politicization.
Yes, politicization of the military. So these are general areas where concerns have been raised. And as I've mentioned before, these aren't necessarily new to the Belize Defense Force. In a sense, they have been plagued by these allegations, right? And so it opens up a can of worms. And this particular can of worms kind of leads back to what may have transpired or what may have, in a sense, catalyzed what took place in Krikesarko on Sunday. But yes, it's a situation where now, beyond the individuals who have spoken with us on record, it would be interesting to find out from the Minister of National Security and Borders to kind of give us his perspective as to how they're going to deal with these issues going forward.
I think for me that what also crosses my mind is how will they address this issue on the face of a general election year as well? This is something that has been of concern, as you mentioned, many years prior to this one, and it's one that also the general public finds interest in. These are our law enforcement officers. These are our army men served to protect our nation. And so these concerns, especially when we talk about sexual misconduct and the concerns coming from the women in the force, when we think of leadership in general and politicization, how does that play a role in the Belize Defense Force? Those are all questions that we've had for a very long time. And in this case, now seeing an actual document come out from a Belize Defense Force officer who we still don't know who was the actual writer of it, it's interesting to see what the dialogue will be on the public scene from it.
Yes, so it's a tough way to start off the week, but we're here and questions will be asked with a view to provide our audience with the actual facts of what transpired in both instances, the instance of the couple that died last night, and of course the Belize Defense Force officer who lost his life on Sunday night, and the other one who's also injured and hospitalized.
Well, we will be following that. And on the international scene, yesterday was also one of history because the United States had their official swearing in of Donald Trump. the elected president. And there was a lot that took place over the course of the day immediately as he became president, Isani.
So it's arguably an inauguration day for the books, in the sense that the 47th president of the United States wasted no time in terms of going as far as undoing as many as 78 motions and orders and laws and what have you that were passed during the previous Biden administration. Beyond that, however, there was a series of executive orders that came into force as well.
What is an executive order?
It's a directive given by the sitting president to manage the affairs of the federal government. That's a textbook definition of what is an executive order.
Right.
But in terms of the effect of it, you would recall that prior to his swearing in, he had made certain pronouncements in terms of the Panama Canal, in terms of
the Gulf of
the
America.
Gulf of Mexico being renamed to the Gulf of America, the border situation between Mexico and the United States. Of course, there's also the issue of the deportations and what have you, the mass deportations. So when I say he wasted no time, as quickly as he took office, these decisions were made in succession. And so the United States is off to an interesting start with the 47th president. He returns to office after 4 years. And so this will be an interesting period in American history. The question for us Belizeans is, how are we going to be impacted by this? We're yet to see. What I find interesting is that during his previous tenure, we did not have an ambassador. He came into office officially yesterday, and now we have a charge d'affaires, right? So I'm not sure if that replaces altogether an ambassador sometime during the next 4 years, or maybe it's just in the interim, I don't know. But we've seen that in the previous 4 years under President Trump, we never had an ambassador in Belize, right? So beyond that is the fact that we do have Belizeans who are
living in
the United States illegally, and some perhaps legally. And I think they're all on the edge to see what's going to happen with this mass deportation.
And it appears that there will be even legal living persons in the United States that might stand to be impacted as well. I think when the conversation around the deportation came about, it seemed to be associated more with criminals living in the United States illegally. And of course, the question was posed to the Prime Minister and even the Commissioner of Police on thoughts of these Belizeans returning back to Belize. We heard from Compal yesterday saying, well, we welcome them because they are supposed to be serving their time. But in the case of other deportees, if you're a Belizean, of course, this is your home country. But when compared to other countries like Guatemala, who seems to be welcoming even persons who aren't of Guatemalan citizenship.
Well, so let's step back just a second here. So the highest office in the land is that of the Prime Minister. So this very question was posed to the Prime Minister a week and a half or so ago.
Right.
And he took a pretty firm stance on it. If you're Belizean and you're being repatriated, welcome back. We'll put you to use somewhere in our labor force. If you're not Belizean and you're being sent to Guatemala, don't bother coming into Belize, right? How they're going to sort of keep them at bay, notwithstanding our porous borders, is going to be another thing, right? That's going to be another issue altogether. But yes, the position is that, you know, if you're a Belizean being sent back home, you know, we welcome you, we'll put you to use, find something for you to do constructively, and we re-assimilate you back into Belizean society. If you're not from Belize, then the government has no place for you at this point.
Well,
but yes, that's part of all of what is taking place. And I guess for some countries, for some people, it will have far-reaching effect. based on the fact that some people are over in the United States for all these many years, right? I was reading another part of this whole executive orders thing that has to do with birthright. That is an important one.
And even marriage.
And I don't know what that spells for the next 4 years. And I'm saying it's interesting simply because I'll be on the sidelines watching to see how this all plays out. And what, if any, objections or oppositions will come from other parts of Congress and those in authority in the United States.
One interesting, certainly, situation that we will be also monitoring, including many other developments in the United States. But that does it for What's Buzzing. If you have any thoughts on either of the topics mentioned, let us know in the comment section what you thought of it. And if you feel that we should be discussing something that's either trending online or in the news, also let us know in the comment section. Moving now into our eye-opener for your daily dose of morning motivation. And our eye-opener is taken from dailyom.com, and it goes like this. Our lives belong to us, and so do our decisions. Just because an idea or way of doing things is popular doesn't mean it's right for everyone. However, part of the way that something becomes popular is that many of us don't take the time to determine what's right for us. We simply do what most of the people we know are doing. In this way, our decisions about life are made by default, which means they aren't what we call conscious decisions. There may be many other options available, but we don't always take the time to explore them. This may be the result of feeling overwhelmed or pressured by family, peers, and humanity at large to do things their way, the way things have always been done. Regardless of the cause, it is important that, as often as we can, we decide for ourselves what to do with our lives rather than just drift along on the current of popular opinion. This is where gentleness, openness, and tolerance come into play. It helps if we are calmly persistent, consistent, and clear as we communicate to those around us why we are making the choices we are making. At the same time, we have the right to say that we are tired of talking about it and simply need our choices to be respected. Our lives belong to us, and so do our decisions. Those who truly love us will stand by us and support our choices, never mind what's popular.
There's a certain weight that comes with decision making, particularly when an idea is being introduced into a situation that could either help or hurt. But if it's popular, people don't necessarily look at what the adverse effects of that idea could be. They simply go, well, it's a popular vote.
Everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it until something happens, and then we realize, you know what, I should have followed my own instinct or my gut where the idea or the decision should have been made. And I say all of that to say this. It comes from family, co-workers, friends, people we go to school with. So how do we stand and take a firm position in the face of what would be, in a sense, popular idea?
It's when you go against the grain. That's the difficulty of it, I think. In this case, I think of family, especially those family members that you are oftentimes close to, and you are set in a position of making a decision that you feel might perhaps in Isani's case, as he mentioned, hurt your family, or it goes against what has always been done, the norm around you. For example, maybe you are in a dynamic where everyone around you works in a family business, but you decide that you want to do your own thing on the side. That might go against the grain, and it might go against what is popular or expected of you. But in that case, you have to trust your decision if you truly feel that it is right for you, and know that those who really love you will respect that decision, regardless if it goes against the grain or if it goes against what is popular. Let us know now your thoughts on it. Do you feel that there was anything about this eye-opener that moved you? We want to know. Moving now into our weather update from the folks at the Met Service.
Good morning, Belize. Relatively moist and somewhat unstable conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast: cloudy skies with sunny breaks today and cloudy at times tonight. A few showers or light rain will affect mainly central and coastal areas at first, gradually spreading to most areas by afternoon. A decrease in shower activity is expected this evening. Then, a few showers, periods of rain, or isolated thunderstorms will affect most places tonight as our next cold front approaches the country. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 82 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 83 inland, and 70 up in the hills. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 73 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 71 inland, and 64 up in the hills. The winds from the open sea will be from the east-southeast at 5 to 15 knots, and the sea conditions will be choppy to moderate. A low tide will occur this morning at 8:56, a high tide this evening at 2:53, another low tide tonight at 10:39, and another high tide early tomorrow morning at 4:13. The sun will rise this morning at 6:26 and will set this evening at 5:41. The moon will set this morning at 11:18 and will rise just after midnight at 12:21. In the sargassum forecast, there is a small chance that a few sargassum mats could affect coastal destinations. However, impacts are expected to remain minimal. The outlook for Wednesday and Wednesday night: mostly cloudy skies with cool conditions. A few showers or light rain will linger around the country. Then shower activity will decrease on the mainland Wednesday evening and night, except for some coastal and offshore areas. For a review of our forecasts and other products, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
Alrighty, there you have it, your weather update from the folks at the Met Service. This morning is quite a special show lineup we have for our viewers, Isani. We have a very special guest that we will be joined by in the first and second segment of the morning.
We will be joined in a few minutes by Lord Michael Ashcroft for a two-part conversation on a range of topics from politics to his legacy in Belize.
And in our final conversation, we will also be taking it a little bit over to small business, and we'll be talking about the art of handmade soaps and how organic skincare benefits the earth and, of course, you. But we got to take a quick break, and when we come back, it's all about Lord Michael Ashcroft, and we'll be discussing a range of topics, so please stay tuned. We'll be right back in a few moments.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
My name is Yasmin Hulse and I am a retirement pensioner. I have been paying Social Security for 40 years from the started, and now it has benefited me because I'm getting a good income from Social Security since I'm retired. It had benefited me because I can pay my bills, buy my groceries, and allow me to do activities with my family, allow me to go places that I wanted to go, but because I was working, you can't go, you know. Paying your Social Security monthly or weekly from your salary help you when you retire, because we all get old at some point, and that way you know that after you stop work, you don't have to worry about anything. You'll be receiving this monthly income. You don't have to be a burden to your family member because you know they have their own family, they have their own expenses. It helps us to know that we can be depending on ourselves. We don't have to depend on anybody.
Energy powers our lives, and now we're powering a sustainable future together. This January 27th and February 3rd at 7:30 p.m., tune into the Energy Exchange Show, your guide to understanding Belize's journey towards sustainable energy. From solar power to electric mobility, learn how we're creating real solutions for everyday Belizeans. With topics like e-mobility and licensing regime, this show is designed to answer your questions about Belize's energy transition. Join us to see how we can all play a role in building a brighter, cleaner Belize.
And welcome back. For our first and second segments, as we've mentioned prior to the commercial break, we will be having an extended conversation with Lord Michael Ashcroft, and he is here with us in studio this morning. Good morning,
Good morning.
Mr. Ashcroft.
Good morning, guys. Good to be here, especially in this fantastic studio.
Nice, nice. What brings you to Belize this time of year?
Well, I'm a regular visitor. I probably try to get down to Belize about every 6 or 7 weeks and have a look at the projects that we're doing and visit my little home here as well. So I'm a regular visitor, and I'm very curious as to what happens in Belize and its development and its future.
It's interesting that you say that you're following up on the various projects that you have going on. There's been quite a lot of work taking place with some of your investments in this country. Perhaps we can talk a bit about that?
Yes, by all means. I mean, at the moment, in San Pedro, we have the Alaya Hotel. Very fortunate that it's fully booked right the way through to April. We've built 24 new apartments at the back of Alaya. We're building another 32. We're putting up about 70 or 81 bedroom rooms on the seafront right next to it, and a retail section there as well, and totally transforming that part of San Pedro. And I think they're doing a great job so far. And you've seen, or others have seen, the old Radisson, which has been now brought down, which was very sad for me.
How so?
Well, because it was in the Radisson as a kid, when I was here at school and attending St. Catherine's Academy, that I learnt to swim in the old Fort George swimming pool.
Yeah.
And that whole area is where I played as a kid. So as I saw the old Fort George coming down, it was a mixture of pride at what we were now going to replace it with, and a sadness that the Fort George that I knew from a kid was now disappearing forever. And for those that have been down there, they will see the building of a new first world-regarded conference center will be there. So international delegates will be able to come to Belize City, have their conferences, a hotel that the nation can be proud of. And so looking forward to that. And of course, the Belize Bank is still the premier bank of the nation, the only bank that has an international credit rating. I think the only bank that the central bank doesn't have to monitor very carefully. It's a very professional bank. So I'm very proud of those achievements. My only regret is over the years that I haven't been able to do a lot more for Belize because of all the disputes with the politicians, and many of whom have preferred to put their fingers in the cookie jar than act on behalf of the nation.
We'll get into that when we discuss your legacy in Belize. Before we go into the meat of our conversation this morning, I want to touch quickly on the employment that has come along with all the various investments that you have in this country. You've mentioned the expansion of the Alaya. You've also mentioned the Radisson. Talk to us a bit about what this does in terms of generating jobs for Belizeans.
Well, part of it is you have to then decide in any economy how you want to grow an economy. Every nation has to grow an economy, and every nation has to create wealth before it discusses how it distributes it. Whether you are left of center or right of center, every nation, you cannot distribute debt and you cannot distribute nothing. So creation of wealth is important. So there has to be a thriving private sector to be able to create wealth, jobs, and for that to be taxed for the benefit of the social services of the nation. And therefore, to that extent, this government is promoting tourism. And quite naturally, we have all the natural resources we need, not just at the sea, but within the countryside, in the jungle, the bird spotting, out of Mountain Pine Ridge. We've got a lot of those natural resources. And therefore, to that extent, investment is needed in order not only to create employment, but you also get a stage in tourism where you actually are creating infrastructure where you don't have enough labor in the indigenous population. And in some smaller countries, a lot of people don't want to work in the tourist sector. And therefore, you actually have to bring people into the country. And that's something that government policy has to adapt to. We here in the CARICOM nation can allow people from the CARICOM nations to come here a little bit easier if they have certain qualifications. But if we can create long-term, sustainable, good-earning jobs, then that's the sort of thing the government should encourage, and to an extent keep themselves out of them investing in the tourism and having a conflict of interest.
I think, Mr. Ashcroft, one of the conversations that has been most prominent in Belize in 2025 and even prior to that is the state of our political atmosphere. We've been seeing all that has been taking place in our opposition and, of course, in our current administration. What is your overall analysis of the political landscape in Belize right now?
Well, I'm somebody who believes in a thriving democracy. I believe there should be two things in any country: not only a thriving opposition, but a thriving media to hold that opposition to account. And that media should not be intimidated by the political class. And also government should keep out of being dominant within the media of that democracy. Therefore, for me, at the moment, this is a very shameful situation that Belize is in. The only good news for donors of political parties in Belize today is nobody has to put up any money, because there is no doubt the PUP will win and they don't need any money, and it's definite that the UDP are going to lose, so they don't need any money either. So the donors can relax during this general election, keep the money in their pocket, or book a nice holiday to Miami or wherever they want to go. But having said that, here you have political opposition in complete disarray. You have two sides of an argument who believe they're absolutely right, and both of them who feel the other side is totally wrong. And in any compromise, there has to be people giving ground. And at the moment, neither side in the opposition is prepared to give ground. Now, this, of course, will come to a head. At the moment, the court has held the ring where it is. Both sides disagree with that interpretation. One side believes that on the Shine side, that holding the ring means there is a recognition that he continues as the leader of the party. The other side says no. All the judge said was that we haven't decided. And so, and as it goes at the moment, the case to solution would be after a general election in March.
What purpose does it serve?
But holding that ring in law means you hold the ring unless there is a change in circumstance. And the change in circumstance will be the day the general election is called, at which point both sides have got to go to apply to the Electoral Commission for the color red. And a determination would then be made, and I suspect it'll go to court immediately. And that'll go halfway through the election cycle. So whatever happens here, it's a disaster for democracy for this country.
Let's go back a bit to where you were speaking to donors of both parties. Now, I know that you've been a financier for both of the political parties at some point in time, or the
allegedly.
Allegedly. Fair enough. You have essentially backed either of the two parties at some point in time, if not both. Give us a bit more insight into what's taking place from that end in terms of looking at the lay of the land and appreciating it for what it is. The UDP is in a state of disarray. The People's United Party is perhaps more powerful than it was before, based on the galvanization of supporters around their policies and what have you.
Well, I don't think another 5 years of the PUP, as it is with next to no opposition, and a possibility that the UDP have no seats, is right for the democracy of this country. There is an old saying that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And to have 5 years of a government with unfettered power, it's very difficult to keep the fingers out the cookie jar.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm interested to know as well, studying the political scenes in various parts of the world, do you make any contrasts or have you observed any similarities between what is taking place in the Commonwealth, for example, in the UK, as compared to what's it looking like in Belize politically?
Well, you'll always have where one party does extraordinarily well and has stronger power. You've seen, for those that have followed American politics last night, you'll have seen the number of executive orders that Donald Trump has put into effect that has totally changed the landscape of politics within the United States. But on the other hand, there will still be a thriving Democratic Party. There will still be a thriving media that will hold Donald Trump to account. And so he doesn't have a complete run at everything that he wants to do. But also there are the checks and balances of the Congress too. And so always remember that that for Trump to prevail, he's got to get votes through Senate and the House of Representatives. But if you have in a small nation a party that virtually dominates the House, then the checks and balances disappear fairly quickly, especially when you have legislation that is not strong and doesn't have teeth. Now, if you go to something, and we may or may not get into Portico and that type of thing, but there was a Senate inquiry. So what happens is that those that are called to the Senate inquiry don't answer the questions, tell the chair that they're off. My name is Fred Smith, I'm 28 years old, that's all I'm going to say, and my lawyer says I'm not to say anything more and exits the Senate inquiry. And there's no sanction. And everyone knows the Senate inquiry is dead. There is other legislation of political interests, which is toothless.
As a matter of fact, when that happened, that signaled the death knell for the Senate inquiry. We haven't had one since. There's no mention of it being resumed or what have you. So it's essentially dead in the water. Let's transition a bit more to perhaps what would be your review or assessment of the past 4 years under this particular administration, what you would see to be their strengths or weaknesses.
Well, there have been a number of strengths, but you'll always have an opposition that will never give credit. A more effective opposition is one of which, where there is credit, it gives it, and where it's something that's in the interest of the nation, they support it. But in smaller countries, you tend to find that an opposition will criticize everything. And that's not always correct. There has been some significant growth in Belize as we've come out of COVID, as to where we are today. But still the collection of revenues is not enough for what the nation really needs. It needs a lot more infrastructure. And when it messes around on major infrastructure projects like the port or a bulk handling facility, whilst it slowly watches the cruise liners go to other ports, this is the fault of the politicians messing around. So there are various, and here we have, I think it's 13 months now since the port was acquired by the government. The government was screaming about modernization. What has been done in 13 months so far? Nothing. What has been done in terms of getting something done there?
They're probably still doing feasibility studies. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I've had a look at one of the so-called feasibility studies of June of last year, and it's like a schoolboy's exercise. They had people here last Thursday coming talking to the government, ignoring the CEO of the port in the discussions because they don't trust him. They're still all fighting around, not knowing what direction to go. And here we are 15 years later, that the country has not got one of the major infrastructures, which would make a lot of difference both to income, tourism, and the development of the country.
While we're on this topic, and I know we're going to move on to another conversation shortly, but while we're on this topic, what are your views on State Bank and the compulsory acquisition of the 23 or so acres around the island proper?
If it wasn't serious, you could do a comedy skit as to what has happened with State Bank. You see, in government, it's all very well having a policy. But if you don't have a plan, the policy is useless. I could stand up as a politician and say, we want better education for our children. Well, that's a fantastic policy. We all applaud. We love this rhetoric. My next question is, well, what's the plan? All right? So here we have on things like State Bank and others, yes, we want a port, or we want a cruise terminal, and we want that. Good policies. What's the plan? And this is where it always falls down, because there's no plan. And so something like State Bank, it all starts off, State Bank was a favorite of the government of the time. They got all the concessions. Off they went. And then all of a sudden, there's Portico down the south. That looks a little bit more interesting. Well, let's abandon State Bank. State Bank runs up enormous amount of debt. Atlantic Bank are up to here in loans to State Bank. Government moves over here. State Bank's in trouble. Then they can see that Atlantic Bank will be in trouble if the State Bank defaults. So now the government's got to panic around to try to save State Bank because of what they did, because of Portico down here, and they couldn't get the Port of Belize together, and then they made sure that the Port of Belize's environmental clearance was negated, and they fixed it, so NEAC said no, and all of a sudden, they're all in a mess everywhere. So on something like State Bank, what's the plan? What do they need State Bank for? Is it a temporary measure? Is it a permanent measure? So until they sort that out, nobody knows what is going to happen on that. Nobody knows if there are secret understandings or arrangements. But at the moment, everything appears to be flat. Somebody says, well, let's wait till after the election. Well, let's see what happens after the...
It's also mired in legal controversy. But
yes.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yes, it is. And still on the topic of elections, we have known to expect polls from you and even surveys of the political landscape here in Belize, studying the politicians that are currently at the fore. The most recent survey and polling that was done showcased the popularity of some of the politicians in Belize and several other information. What brought about your interest in even studying these politicians here in Belize?
Well, it goes back to, I used to be deputy chairman of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom, one of the longest political parties in history. And part of my role as deputy chairman was to do all the political research for the party. And I became very fascinated in polling, focus groups. I was very curious as to what drove somebody to put that X where they do on the ballot box and what the issues were that drove them. And I also came of the view that there were many politicians in the UK, though they were seeking the democratic mandate, did not fully understand what drove somebody to that X, but they were more based there on gut feel and what their stomach told them, rather than what was driving the voter. Because often the voter is not totally transparent in what drives them to the ballot box. And then I did research in the United States. And to this day, I lecture in the US on US politics. And I've got research in the UK being published in the UK national media tomorrow of focus groups that I've put together. So it's fairly natural for me from time to time. And I've done polling in Russia, I've done polling in Ukraine, I've done polling in Canada, New Zealand. And so doing some polling in Belize and also Turks and Caicos, where I'm very active, was a natural thing to do. And I did the polling here a number of months ago, and it didn't bode well for the UDP at that particular juncture. And as you can understand, the leader of the opposition was a little bit pissed with me. But I have never done polling that I do not publish. And that's one of my golden rules. Now, this time around, there is no point in doing any polling. The result is so obvious.
Yes.
I have a quick follow-up question for you. What sparked your initial interest in politics?
Well, for me, because of my age, I mean, I'm only a year off 80. And I know exactly what you're thinking, that I don't look it. And I understand, I understand that. But politics is life. Nothing in a country is away from politics. Cost of living, cost of food, everything, education, environment, everything is evolving around politics. And the person who got me interested in politics was Margaret Thatcher when she was Prime Minister of the nation.
The Iron Lady, right?
The Iron Lady, or as she was nicknamed, Attila the Hen. And she changed Britain by a power of personality. And not to everyone's liking, because again, in politics, you have different views. We have left of center, right of center. In smaller nations like Belize, it's hard to tell sometimes as to who is on the right of center or left of center. So that was the fascination for me. And I continue to do that to this day. I published, I did a lecture for Mitt Romney in Utah, and I polled 20,000 Americans. And I conducted 16 focus groups in the swing states, most of which I actually moderated myself, out of curiosity as to how the American voters were thinking and what the issues were. And so I extend that to wherever I am.
I want to ask a question based on the surveys that were conducted a few months ago and the assessment of the political atmosphere in Belize. Do you see the possibility of a clean sweep taking place?
In politics, nothing is impossible. And you can paint a scenario. Now, if, for example, in one seat, Mr. Chang decides to announce later today, for example, that he is going to challenge Shine in Messel.
Now this is going to happen, by the way.
Well, again, you see, so my forecasting is not too bad.
It's not far off.
Not too far off. You will find that both sides will see that very differently. Tracy's side will see that as a massive game changer. Shine will say, well, the PUP only got 500 votes. The rest of the votes went to me in Messel. I'm confident I'll see off Mr. Chang. So when you come to a clean sweep, it's which one of those two do you believe is right? And one of the only ways of doing it would be to go and poll Messel, because most of the politicians have to say they're going to win, even if deep in their heart they know they're not. The only thing which we can be fairly sure of this time is that Johnny Briceño is able to say we will form the next government. I would not argue against him at all. And I think the sooner he calls it and puts the nation out of its misery, the better.
I don't believe, and I may be wrong on it, it's an opinion being shared, that there would be a clean sweep if you look at other constituencies that have been traditionally or historically UDP strongholds. If you look at Colette, for instance, there is a likelihood that Patrick Faber may win again for a 6th consecutive term. If you look at Queen Square, and even Mesopotamia, whoever wins out of the two of them.
But you see, you mentioned Patrick. Well, what color is he going to fight under?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So these variables are not yet established.
Let's take the conversation back to economy. You spoke about the state of economy globally. For me, I'm curious to know what your assessment is on Belize's economy. I believe we was recently recorded as the 3rd in 3 years consecutively of economic growth. Do you see that being reflected in our general state of living and in the cost of living here in Belize?
Well, I think you've always got to look at a national picture as well as an international picture. United Kingdom has a cost of living crisis. Politicians always love crisis. The United States has had the same. So you'll always have, in times of worldwide inflation, where energy prices go up, the cost of living will go up, and the politicians have got to manage that. But what the politicians need to do is rather than have these policies which I talked about, is what is your plan for the growth of the nation? Because without growth, nothing else follows. You've got to grow. So how do you grow the economy of Belize? And once you've got that plan in place and go for it aggressively, then the rest will follow. Wages will start to increase, jobs created. And so it's the plan. So when they come out with their manifesto, it's not just the words. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. What is that solid plan? If tourism is what they want to do, and we're going to reduce crime. Well, how long have we heard this? Mm-hmm. But what's the plan?
And how do you do it?
And how do you do it? You've seen what some regard as extreme that Salvador has done.
Yeah.
In the economy, you've seen now in South America what the Argentinians have done, knocking out bureaucracy, getting growth going again, massively bringing down inflation.
Well, it could be argued that the government has been pushing MSMEs and small business entrepreneurs. Could that be considered a part of the plan to building the economy?
Yes, it can be. But you see, as far as young entrepreneurs, it's again the availability of capital. And it's whether the government is prepared to take the risk reward with the smaller businesses. Because you cannot expect the financial institutions to take all commercial risks. But now, in the early days of Belize Bank, we listened to the government, and they wanted us to invest in the agricultural sector, where the traditional banks like Nova Scotia would only do retail. And we did a lot of that, and we just landed up in massive trouble and bad debts. Did we get any sympathy from the regulator? No, of course not. And so you cannot expect the financial institutions to take risk more than they should do, because they're risking their depositors' money.
What do you think of the state of banking and the financial sector in the country at this point? You've mentioned that Belize Bank continues to lead in terms of its position and its growth and what have you. But it doesn't seem as if though Atlantic Bank is too far behind, and there are other strides being made by Heritage Bank and any other institution. How would you describe the state of play where the financial sector is concerned?
Well, I mean, I concentrate on what we at Belize Bank do. I regard Belize Bank as the most professional financial institution in this country, and you would expect me to say that as well. But I am sure that Central Bank would recognize the professionalism of Central Bank. Belize Bank is the only bank in Belize that has an international credit rating. No other bank has got that.
And how important is that in the grand scheme of things for the average Belizean who would be looking at Belize Bank?
It's the fact of where the average Belizean is confident of where they deposit their money. And the Belize Bank will continue the way that it is, as a conservative, responsible citizen in the nation, and will not take unbanking risks. Now, if the government were to come along and say, you know, we would love you to finance $50 million worth of small businesses, and we say to the government, well, government, let's be partners. You guarantee it. You put the guarantee. We'll discuss it. But what happens is like the DFC. The DFC goes off and lends money, often to cronies, often where the money shouldn't go, and eventually they all go bust. Because there is a sort of a feeling for many of the businesses that They want easy ability to raise capital, but they don't want to take any risk or much risk, and they don't want to pay it back.
So what are your thoughts then on public-private partnerships in that regard?
I think it depends how all these depend on how they are structured. There is always room to be able to do public-private, especially on infrastructure. But do bear in mind is that that Waterloo put forward plans for a major cruise terminal, bulk handling facility, and we had the ability to raise the finance to do it. And if there hadn't been messing around, by now Belize would have had a major infrastructure project all done.
Would that be a project that you would be interested in partnering as a public-private partnership with the government?
Well, the government is well aware that even had we built the cruise terminal, Waterloo's position in it would have only been as a minority shareholder, and that overseas investors and other institutions would have been participating in the development of it. And so Waterloo is always open for any discussion. But what we don't want to have is a discussion on the cookie jar.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Ashcroft, we have to move into some of the overall feedback and criticism that you have gotten from the public and even some from the politicians regarding your business in Belize. Of course, we'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about continued investment in the country and a bit about your legacy. We want to also cover several other areas that you might be interested in talking about, but we have to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be discussing.
And I hope I'm still here after the break, after listening to that.
Much more coming up when we come back.
Sets of criminals and taking the money out of crime is a lot of work. Criminals today are very smart and creative, so the authorities need to stay one step ahead. But sometimes there may not be enough evidence that the authority will want to prosecute, or the prosecution may fail, or they do get a conviction but there's no confiscation order, or the defendant dies before conviction, or they may even be acquitted. So many factors to consider. So the new Civil Asset Recovery and Unexplained Wealth Act is here to address these challenges. Of course, it requires several agencies to come together. The Financial Intelligence Unit, FIU, investigates money laundering and financial crimes, but they also need help from the police, tax authorities, customs, immigration, and several others. They all have to work together to prove that property comes from conduct that would be unlawful under Belize's criminal laws. Many things can trigger an investigation. If the tax filings aren't adding up, red flag. If the customs declaration don't make no sense, red flag. If the police know this person is profiting from crime, red flag. If immigration suspects human trafficking, well, that's a red flag. Financial institutions, car dealers, real estate agents, jewelers, attorneys, accountants, auditors. If you have a reason to suspect a transaction involves property linked to crime, you should refer the case to the FIU. The public's role is also important. The authorities can't always do it alone. You can also report to the FIU. It's better to report in person, but you can also do so anonymously through the FIU's website. Just go to fiubelize.org, scroll down to quick links, and click Report a Financial Crime. Let's work together to take the money out of crime. This message was brought to you by the Financial Intelligence Unit and the U.S. Embassy, Belmopan.
Get your body sculpted with gym equipment and accessories from Benny's. Quality and savings.
My name is Hermine Vega. El Patio Grill has been using Belize Bank for over 25 years. We only use Belize Bank at our restaurant. That's why we were able to win this trip to Europe. I had never been to Europe. We found out it was Madrid and we were excited and we went to this football match. The teams reached before the game and everybody was just outside, you know. You can't explain, the noise just roared like 3 blocks down the street, but when you got in there and you saw 70,000 people in there, that was amazing. I couldn't believe it was happening. I had to pinch myself to make sure it was real, you know, because it's a once-in-a-lifetime experience, I'd say. My lucky plus one was my son. He's 18 years old, so he was really excited and he enjoyed it as well. He said this is his best trip ever, so it's a priceless experience that we got. Belize Bank has always been there for me. Whatever transactions or whatever I need to do, they're always there for me. I would recommend everybody to use Belize Bank. This is the oldest bank in our country and they continue to do their best.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. We are continuing our conversation with Lord Michael Ashcroft, and so far we've covered various topics involving the state of the country, the state of the political atmosphere, and of course business and investments in Belize. As we continue this conversation, Mr. Ashcroft, we cannot go without discussing a bit of the criticisms that you have gotten over time. And interestingly, you are known to be highly critical of the government. However, in the state of that, do you bear any responsibility in the current state of affairs, knowing your investments in business and even political affiliations?
Well, it's a funny thing. There is no record of success that cannot provide an opponent with material for criticism. And when you have to deal with governments of any nation, whenever they are naughty boys, they will lash out. And in my particular case, they have the image of, they love to play the race card, they love to play the wealth card, they love to play the foreign card, and they love to play the populism card. That will never have any effect on me. And if I feel that there is not fair play or a level playing field, the world is today the oyster for investment. People do not have to invest in any particular country if they have foreign currency. And therefore, to that extent, if investors come into a country with foreign currency, they expect a fair shake and they expect a fair return on their investment. And they don't expect to be messed around by a government or by individuals or politicians that want also to line their own pockets, or they suddenly find that they're in competition with the very people that they have encouraged to come in
and invest.
And the nature of this particular beast is that, as somebody once said of me, I'm a dangerous animal. When attacked, I defend myself, and I'm not prepared. And to that extent, I will go all the way. And if necessary, I'm happy to get into the gutter. And if necessary, I'll play a fair game. And that is life's rich pattern.
You've been described in some corners as a shrewd businessman. You've also been looked at in certain corners as a pariah. And when you look at what you've done in this country, some people would say, you know what, they can appreciate your investments in helping to build Belize. But when you look at it from a political point of view, when you're at odds with whomever is in power, they go back and they speak to their masses of supporters and paint a picture that you are perhaps the worst thing that has happened to this country. How do you look at that in terms of what you plan to leave behind down the road?
Well, you can't do much about that. Because if you actually think about it, of all the wealthy Americans in big tech, how many of those have not had massive critique as to how they conduct themselves? This is universal, that you will get this populism critique. And quite often it's either, sometimes it's genuine, and sometimes it's populism, that there is votes to be had for either being anti-foreigner, anti-color, anti-gender, anti-something or the other. But you just have to face it. And you can please some of the people all the time, or all the people some of the time. But if you try to attempt to please all the people all the time, it's a life of misery. And so therefore, to that extent, my only regret in Belize is, as a national, as somebody who went to school here, is that I could have done an enormous amount for the country if we didn't have the type of situation from time to time that when I went into BT, I was asked to go into BTL. Next thing I know is the boys are setting up a company in competition. You know, so here you have a government regulating a business while some of the boys have shares in a competitor. You have to react to that. And when you have something like being asked to put together a cruise port terminal bulk handling facility, and then all of a sudden you suddenly find that you're being undermined because the boys have an interest in something else, you have to fight. And in that fight, you will be smeared. But do you think I lose any sleep over it? Not at all. And you talk about legacy. Legacy is one of those things that I have in the United Kingdom. One of the outstanding schools that is number 14th ranked out of 4,000 schools in the United Kingdom, rated outstanding. Parents bring their kids at 7 o'clock in the morning and can pick them up at 6 o'clock. There's my legacy. I formed Crime Stoppers in the United Kingdom for information on crime. Over 20 years, 20 plus years, there have been 150,000 arrests that have come through my Crime Stoppers, arrest and charges. There is a legacy. I've done undercover operations in South Africa to stop the the cruelty of captive bred lion industry. That's my legacy. And if there is an unfortunate matter that in the country that I love, this one, I've had to deal with naughty politicians,
what do you say,
that's the price.
What do you say then to critics that say that foreign investors like yourself hold too much power in small economies like Belize?
Well, the answer is quite simple. If you don't want the foreign investment, don't take it. But foreign investment comes with the fact that they want fair play. And if the purpose of it, you know, even big operations, I think it was Amazon, wanted to put a big center into New York. But the left of center in New York wanted all sorts of, they wanted this, they wanted that, they wanted this. Eventually Amazon pulled out. Why are companies in the United States going to Texas? Why are they leaving California? So you've got to determine that you have to have fairness to investors that come into a country.
Let's go back to the Port of Belize issue. What was that pivotal moment that, in your mind and in Waterloo's mind, decided that they would sell to the government of Belize in terms of nationalizing the port and its operations once again?
Well, quite simply, that we had spent an enormous amount of money in putting together the whole proposal to do it, including raising the ability to raise international finance. We had it all ready to go. We just needed the final environmental clearance. And when finally word went out to the NEAC people to vote it down, without it being on its merits, we decided there was no future in this country, and that we didn't want to be left with an asset in the country which we couldn't do anything with. Whilst at the same time, there's no political support for the stevedores. Every time the stevedores caused trouble, the government supported them and gave them extra money. And here you have a situation with stevedores. They lost all the sugar from the north, which went down south because of the working practices of the stevedores. And yet the government still paid them redundancy for sugar. And at some point of time, whoever does that port has to address the whole issue. You know, in history, there were many rivers that had to be crossed. The ferryman took people across the rivers. Eventually, somebody worked out you could build a bridge. And so all of a sudden, first of all, you had all the ferrymen arguing that it was going to cost them their jobs and they didn't want the bridge to be built. Eventually, the bridge got built. Ferrymen did lose their jobs, but that's part of life's cycle, that progress goes on. And from time to time, you will always get the dinosaurs in a society that try to stop progress. And unless the politicians have the strength to be able to deal with it, you're not going to advance.
Allow me to expand on that just a tad bit here. When you look at the port and its operations and the fact that the operations are essentially run by stevedores, stevedoring is one of those jobs that has been overtaken by automation in many other harbors across the world. You don't have waterfront workers in the manner in which we have them wield so much power over the operations of the country's most essential infrastructure, if you ask me. Why wasn't that addressed when you guys had the receivership of the Port of Belize?
Because you need political support. What happens when the stevedores riot? What did the government do?
Well, they were made essential. They were made part of the essential services apparatus.
But it didn't work. You need political support. You can't keep blaming either the owners if they have, when there are major changes, if there is no political support, but the other way around, where they do support the dinosaurial work habits because they're concerned about the votes of the people within their constituencies in small constituencies. So all those who keep pointing fingers the wrong way are as big a clowns as anybody else.
In your opinion, what are your thoughts on the Port of Belize having continued viability without the investment of bulk port and cruise terminal?
Well, we've always said that there isn't this. You see, for the bulk handling, you need the same type of dredging for the same type of ships that are coming in. So part of the concept was that you only dredge once for two things. So for me, I don't think you can divide it. But let's see what they come up with. So I still believe that the Port of Belize is the best long-term solution. But the longer they wait, the less cruise liners will move to other places. This is not good for the country. And whether the country is able to get the financial support because of all the mess that's happened so far, the jury will be out after the next election.
But it would seem that the government is more fixed on overnight arrivals than they are on cruise tourism and the money that would have been made from that particular endeavor.
But then we're back to policy. All right? If that's your policy, get on with it. I'm not making an opinion as to whether one is better than the other. This is what politicians are elected for.
Why are you still interested in continued involvement and investment in Belize? You just mentioned a lot of the challenges that you encountered along the ways of projects, some of them that were more successful than others. Why are you still interested?
Well, I'm not. I have 19 acres of land in San Pedro, which will take at least another 5 years to develop. That's fine. I've got the old Radisson site, which I'm developing, and I have the Belize Bank. I'm not looking for more investment. Why would I? Unless the political climate changes, what's the point? I'm investing hundreds of millions of dollars in the Turks and Caicos Islands. I'm developing a 1,000-acre island that I've got a 6,000-foot runway so private jets can come in. I've just paid $40 million for a piece of land that I've got a 5-year development for marina and everything else in Turks and Caicos. This is the point I made earlier, that international capital is mobile. Mm-hmm. And it's up to governments of the day as to whether they encourage that investment or whether it's difficult for people to make a profit.
When you look at all the investments you've made in Belize and you take into consideration the challenges, the good and the bad, which one are you most proud of in terms of everything you have going on as a matter of your individual or private concerns in this country?
Well, I have to be proud of the Belize Bank. I mean, the Belize Bank is the product of 2 Canadian banks leaving the jurisdiction, the Royal Bank of Canada initially and Nova Scotia, and putting together the most professional bank. If at times we've had to fight the government in achieving that. That's been the most difficult thing that the whole time. Mm-hmm. But the bank is here for the long term. And I hope the project in San Pedro changes the face of a certain area of San Pedro once we get retail and everything else going there. And I'm very proud of what we're putting together on that Radisson site. But I have no interest in doing anything else.
Mm-hmm. What's the relationship with the regulator like between Belize Bank and the central bank in terms of perhaps some of the services, some of the policies that you guys would want to implement, but you have the regulator overseeing and in some cases perhaps even objecting to some of the measures that you would want to put into banking?
But this is not unique to Belize. This is true for every regulator in every country. And it then depends as to how much political interference there is in the regulation of the financial sector. But when you have a bank like Belize Bank with international credit rating, with the most professional, the best thing to do is to allow those managers to run that for the benefit of the nation. And it's not going to take excessive risk. And what politicians often want the banks to do is they want to take risks that the banks don't really want to take for political purposes, but yet don't want to help or guarantee. Or if the banks get into a problem as a consequence, they're not there to help. And this is where you get things like, Atlantic Bank, I believe, has been heavily fined recently. They're under enhanced supervision. And most of that is, whenever a bank gets into difficulties, it's the quality of their loan portfolio.
Let's digress into something completely different while we have you here and time is running out on us. I think one of the more interesting things you've done recently, in my opinion, was the interview with Mrs. Zelensky, the First Lady in Ukraine. Talk to us a bit about that. You visited this, what I would describe perhaps as a war-torn country, given the conflict, the ongoing conflict with Russia. What was that experience like for you, in your capacity as sort of a journalist, actually?
Well, this is what some of the people in the UK are pulling my leg about, is that at my age I've become a war reporter because I've written 20 articles on Ukraine. Mm-hmm. I've visited Ukraine 10 times since the war, and I'm back again next month. I've been to the front line 3 times, and I'm working with Mrs. Zelensky on certain reconstruction projects, especially for children and schools, as part of the philanthropic side of activities. And as part of that, she kindly agreed to have an interview with me. And that was a very fascinating couple of hours. and being able to talk to her about the situation as she saw it as the wife of the president, who is now in the third year of the war. And as a consequence for the work that I've done for Ukraine, and I've done humanitarian aid, is that I've been sanctioned by Russia. And to that extent, that is for me, the last 12 months, the biggest badge of honor that I can have. So that's another part of my life
that a lot of people actually don't know about. Especially here in Belize, we know you more for your business projects, but very few recognize the philanthropic work that you have been doing even in the country here. When you look at your legacy, would you prefer to be remembered for that?
Well, no. People talk about legacy, but it's not something that concerns or worries me. I know what I have done. You know, and the smaller things give me great pride. I've helped bring into Belize Healthcare Partners in the last couple of months state-of-the-art MRI scan into Belize. This was not a cheap project, but something that Belize needed. And I'm hoping that I can do a lot more on the medical side here in Belize through the hospital of advancing the type of medical treatment that can be available for Belizean citizens. But it's all quietly done. It doesn't need to be trumpeted. And so for this legacy doesn't concern me at all, because when I do my autobiography, finally, most of these things I will articulate, of things that have given me pleasure, things that I'm proud of, and also my own mistakes, and don't push me on what those are. So legacy doesn't matter. And I think people, because I know what I have achieved from where I started in life, and I know what my moral values are, and I know what I try to achieve.
I have one final wild card question for you. What has been your relationship with Dean Barrow post his political life? I know when he was the Prime Minister, you guys were like cat and dogs. You're at odds with each other over a great many things. Yourself as a businessman, himself as the leader of government for 13 years. What has that been like now?
Well, the last time I spoke to Dean Barrow was yesterday. He and I are friends. We fought hard. He was a worthy adversary. I hope he found me a worthy adversary. I respect him for the fight that he gave me. He respects me for the fight that I gave him. And we were able to give each other a man hug. And we're friends. I have a big 80th birthday party next year. I would never omit Dean Barrow from a list of my invitees.
My final question, Mr. Ashcroft, has to do with advice. Given the success that you've had over the years, what's a piece of advice that you were given that you feel could be of use to other young business-minded individuals?
Well, if I can answer that with a degree of humor, sure. Is that when I was in my 30s, an older businessman said to me, he said, "Michael, I think you're going to do well in life. Let me give you this piece of advice. You're going to have the opportunity to meet many friends. Only make friends with those guys whose wives you're happy to sit next to at dinner, or it's a life of misery." And I have carried that mantle through the whole of my life.
I'll have to use that one too.
Wow, that's an interesting way to close the conversation then. This has been such a wonderful sitting with you, Mr. Ashcroft. As we wrap up this conversation, do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share with our viewers?
No, I just want the viewers to know that whatever the trials or tribulations of being in Belize, is that because I came here at the age of 7, Belize has always been in my heart. And as I said earlier, my only regret is the circumstances were such that I could not have done a lot more for the nation with all my contacts worldwide, wealth for the nation.
Well said. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, guys.
We'll take a quick break now, but when we come back, the conversation switches into a bit of eco-friendly products. We'll be talking to Alvarez Organics on the makings of organic soaps. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And I'm a teacher and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer, with these online that Belize Bank offer, is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
This is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
La formación del Centro Neurológico del Hospital Galenia es que esas enfermedades que son altamente complejas y que muchos de nuestros pacientes tenían que emigrar hacia otra parte de la República u otra parte de México ahora puedan ser atendidos aquí.
La atención quirúrgica en el centro neurológico se forma dentro de un grupo multidisciplinario que incluye tanto neurólogos, médicos internistas, ortopedistas, neurocirujanos, pediatras. Y este esfuerzo que se ha realizado para conjuntar todos los especialistas es para siempre brindar al paciente un abordaje multidisciplinario y transversal.
Evidentemente, mientras más rápido podamos llegar al diagnóstico de los pacientes, más rápido podemos tratarlos, resolverlos y por ende mejor resultado vamos a tener al final. Entonces creo que la prioridad y el fundamento principal de un proyecto como este es justamente eso, que no se pierda tiempo de forma innecesaria para poder al final del día llegar al mejor de los resultados con un tratamiento completo, integral y oportuno.
Y las visiones desde diferentes perspectivas nos permiten tener pues el mejor tratamiento y la mejor opción para el paciente.
Tenemos la capacidad técnica, operativa, profesional y la infraestructura de poder establecer una atención neurológica de alta calidad.
It's clearly documented that we have been having, as a planet, an increase in incidence of cancers. And remember, cancer is a genetic disease.
When you now look at somebody's DNA or their genetics, it can tell you everything about a person. So what we use next generation sequencing to do in particular is to look at hereditary cases of diseases.
Be viewing Caribbean Medical TV on this station.
Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and thank you for sticking with us. We are on our final conversation for the morning, and it's all about embracing the delicate touch of Alvarez Organics. This morning we are joined by Abby Alvarez, and she's the co-owner and social media manager of Alvarez Organics. And she has some lovely items on display that she also brought with her to showcase to you guys. Good morning, Abby, and welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Talk to us a bit about Alvarez Organics.
Okay, Alvarez Organics, basically the Alvarez is my surname and organics is basically what we promote. All of our products are organic. We strive to make the world a better place, make the products that Belizeans and everyone use friendly to their skin, to the environment, and so forth.
How long ago did this business launch?
Okay, so actually we rebranded to Alvarez Organics. Previously we were Alvarez Granola. When I was younger, my parents founded Alvarez Granola, and basically they did cereal and granola bars. And during the COVID era, we rebranded to Alvarez Organics. So we discontinued that, and we're pushing the soaps, and we have other products as well.
So more skincare related?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was that transition like to move from cereals and granola bars to organic products?
Well, among other things, basically the pandemic came, and basically everyone, they were learning new skills, and my mom actually, she has sensitive skin, and the products that she used to clean her skin, they don't really work for her. So she was like, you know what, let me go to the University of YouTube.
Oh, I love that.
That is where she learned how to make soaps, and basically some of our products, I forgot to bring one, but we had the eye drops from Alvarez Organics. That was way back. And to answer your question, actually, we officially, Alvarez Granola was 2003, all of that coming down to present. So, and then Alvarez Organics is officially established 2021.
Where are you guys based?
So we are based in the culture capital of Dangrikatang.
Lovely.
And basically we branch off to as much districts as possible. We are located, well, we don't have a in-store location, but we basically operate online. We have different parts. We are in Hopkins, we are in San Pedro. We just ship some products to Independence. So we're just trying to reach as much districts as we can.
So Alvarez Organics is an eco-friendly product that promises to be kind to sensitive skin. But I think the really big and important conversation about this business is that it is eco-friendly, so it's kind to the environment. And you mentioned that you guys hail from the culture capital. Now, when it comes to making products that are essentially organic, we normally think of using things around us from our environment.
Yes.
What was that process like looking at your surrounding and learning what different organic items outside could make as a product?
Well, honestly, for me, one of our products that we have, the herbal soap, I watched my mom turn herbs into soap. That was amazing for me because I am already used to, when I want soap, I go to the store and it just appears. But when we learn how to make the products, this is what is advertised is charcoal.
Okay.
And basically this is charcoal, activated charcoal, and all of our ingredients are cold pressed, organic, the olive oil, the coconut oil, but I'll dive into that later.
So cold press and charcoal soap, what does that do for your skin versus a regular soap that just, washes you clean?
Okay, basically the cold press soap, the reason why it is cold pressed, the only ingredient I would say that can be harmful to your skin is lye, and the reason why it is cold pressed, it needs time to cure, and after the soap is made, it takes 4 to 6 weeks for that lye to evaporate and leaves the soap hard. So what remains is the ingredients. So what remains is the charcoal, the olive oil, the coconut oil, and basically essential oils as well.
So you really had to learn the chemistry behind this. It sounds like, Abby.
For sure.
A lot of
you
chemistry.
are certainly versed with the ingredients in that soap. But we also have Isani picking up something here that looks like a bug spray.
Yes.
What is this?
Okay, it is a before and after bite repellent. So in the name, you spray it on your skin and you rub it in. That prevents the bugs from getting you. When we come across locals, tourists, one of the main things we have in common is the bugs that keep getting us every single time, no matter where you are. And tourists, they love our jewel, but one of the things they say, oh, we love Belize, but the bugs keep
They love them
getting
more.
us.
The bugs love them more.
Yeah, so you spray that on, you rub it in, and let's say you didn't get a chance to put it on, that's where the after comes in.
Okay.
So you spray it after, it removes the itching and it removes the swelling.
Oh. You also have a scrub on display there. Now, I'm a sucker for a good scrub. Of course, exfoliating is very important, but at a certain amount, at a recommended amount.
Yes.
Talk to us about the intricacies of your body scrub.
Okay, so basically the body scrub, we recommend using it 3 times a week or twice a week. We don't want it to be used every day because
Can I open?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
And you can smell as well.
Let's get a smell.
So that is the coffee body scrub.
Oh, coffee is definitely inside here, folks. I just woke up just by smelling it.
So yeah, that is one of our most popular smells, especially for the women.
What are the benefits of coffee on the skin?
Basically, it exfoliates your skin.
Okay.
And similar to the charcoal, it just basically it opens up your pores, it cleans them, and then when you have that scrub, it basically gives it, in the name, a scrub. And you rub it on after you take your shower, it leaves your skin feeling smooth.
So these are just some of the items that we can purchase from Alvarez Organics. What are some of your other products that you also have readily accessible?
Okay, so currently we have all of these accessible, the before and after repellent, the body scrub, the charcoal soap. Our products that go even quicker are the turmeric soap that basically even tones your skin, and the herbal soap that is perfect for liver spots and severe acne as well. So we see most of our youngins going for that because the acne around the teenage years is terrible. So
what has been the feedback from the public since this shift from Alvarez granola to now organics, widening your product range?
Honestly, our inner circle, they're like, okay, but can we still get the granola bars? Can we still order them? But they understand the evolution of Alvarez Organics, and they appreciate it. What we do, we ask everyone around us, who we know, who we do not know, please test our products for us. We want to make sure, and we also tested ourselves too. We want to make sure what we put out, we stand by it and we use it as well. And we get some lovely reviews about the repellent, the soap. We have people keep coming back for more. So,
what has been the challenge, or perhaps the ease of doing business from Dangriga? I ask simply because we look at Dangriga and other parts of the South as perhaps a bit more economically challenged in terms of getting business off the ground and being able to meet market and what have you. Have you guys experienced anything that would sort of set you back other than the COVID years?
Honestly, the location, I would say. We have a lot of people interested, but they do not want to pay as much shipping fees from Dangriga, let's say, to here, Belize City. Sometimes we struggle to keep stock because we need to keep on manufacturing our products. Also, when people hear Dangriga, they're like, I only hear Dangriga when it's the 19th of November. Like, what's going on there? And we are like, we are based in Dangriga, yes, but we want to gradually grow into a household name. So when you think soaps, you want to grab Alvarez Organics. When you think repellent, you're going to say, I want Alvarez Organics, because it's something that we stand by, it's something that is awesome, and I would say, yes, it is.
My question to you has more to do along the lines of your personal journey in entrepreneurship. You described the journey of Alvarez products beginning with granola and something that you saw your family do. And then, of course, growing into the transition of organics. What has your personal entrepreneurial journey been like?
Okay, well, I see my parents, they haven't had jobs for years. And basically the products that they made were able to sustain them and myself and my brother as well. And that actually pushed me to try to become an entrepreneur myself. So apart from being co-owner of Alvarez Organics, I also would like to try dabbling in something of my own. But it just opened my eyes to see, actually open your eyes. It opened my eyes to see that you are able to survive on the things that you make with your hands. And it's good that you can do simple products that people think that is only available in the stores. Once you stay true to it and you just keep doing your products and pushing it out there, it's going to be known.
And so can we expect anything in the near future from Alvarez Organics in terms of product line? Are there anything that you guys are currently working on in the lab that we can expect?
We do. Should I share?
I mean, you can share whatever you want to.
Honestly, I do not have it with me, but we are looking into deodorant.
Okay.
So we're trying to see how to have that similar to what the community is already used to, for example, the stick or the roll-on, but it will be out of organic products. So we're working towards that.
Alrighty. Well, Abby, as we wrap up this conversation, I'll give you an opportunity to share some final thoughts with the viewers, or even some advice from one young entrepreneur to another. What's an advice that you would give to that person?
So I would say, whatever you have in mind, just do it. Just do it. It will come to fruition. And once you are determined, once you keep doing it, it's going to be well known. And don't be afraid of the obstacles, because trust me, every business has their obstacle. And once you just stay determined and keep pushing and make sure your products are getting better and better and better, you will come out on top.
And how do we access you? Social media handles, phone number?
We are on Instagram, Facebook, Alvarez Organics, WhatsApp 664-3195. We are available, phone call, WhatsApp, just send us a message. I see all the messages, so I will be able to respond to you as quickly as possible.
I mean, after all, she is the social media manager.
Hello.
And so thank you so much, Abby, for joining us. It is an absolute pleasure, and we wish you and your family and the rest of the team all the best as you continue to grow your business.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
All righty, we take our final break now, but when we come back, we are wrapping things up, so please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Fulltech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Gentlemen, this is what you've been waiting for. In this corner, we have the masters of limitless power and unbeatable connection. Pioneers of 4G LTE in Belize. It's the undefeated champion, Smart. And in the other corner, struggling to keep up, it's the other guy. Fight! Tired of getting blow after blow from a plan with the other guys? It's time to tap out and join the winning postpaid plan provider. Smart's postpaid plans are a total knockout to the competition, and they have once again powered up their postpaid plans. Sign up for one of Smart's boosted postpaid power plans today and experience the victory of superior service. Smart, bringing people together.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
Thank thank you for sticking with us. This morning was absolutely fantastic, Isani. And of course, this was a little bit of a unique morning show special because we had the man himself, Lord Michael Ashcroft, on this couch talking about a range of topics related to investment, Belize, politics, the economy, and of course, even a bit of his own personal legacy and journey as a businessman.
What I appreciated from that conversation, an extended one with Lord Michael Ashcroft, is his worldview and the way he sees things come together to form a bigger picture. I guess that comes with exposure, with years of interactions with people from various walks of life and what have you. And I think to an extent it's something that I would aspire to personally. Yeah. To be able to have the kind of connection with people from various walks of life and to be able to see the bigger picture and how I fit into that.
Yeah.
That is one thing. I think the other part has to do with his appreciation for politics, both at the local, regional, and international level. I am a student of politics myself. I'm still going through this process of understanding how things work from that point of view. I don't have an interest in partisan politics. I doubt I'll ever have an interest in partisan politics. But to be able to understand how people are affected by the decisions that are made by policymakers at various levels, and to have that kind of understanding and being able to fit that into your life, I think gives a unique perspective. And because of that, I find the conversation enlightening. I don't have any business acumen, nothing near to where he has, but there's also something to learn from the way his business mind thinks and the way he looks at being able to introduce a product and expand it and look at it from not only a micro, macro scale, but, you know, to be able to reach in an entire market is also something that I find to be interesting.
And to even study other markets is even more the interesting. I mean, we have known Lord Michael Ashcroft to be the businessman in Belize that has poured several investment projects, several money into projects here. But to see the areas that he has also spread out in different parts of the world, when we think the Caribbean, Turks and Caicos, and of course in even other regions as well. But beyond that, to constantly aspire to learn. We spoke to him about his endeavor in journalism even, and going to Ukraine and studying what is taking place there, writing several articles on the war that was taking place and being on the front line documenting that process, even in this current era of his life as he ages. And for me, I think that was one of the more inspiring parts of the discussion, to see that he continues to learn and to fit himself in history in various parts of the world, whether it's contributing in philanthropic efforts or in developing countries through business projects. And that for me, I think, is the overall look and message of that particular discussion. And so I have to say a huge thank you to him for stopping by. We know that he's a busy man and he is in various pockets of the world, sometimes almost feeling simultaneously. But we appreciated his stop by at what I guess we could call even one of his home, one of his various projects here in Belize, our Channel 5 studios. And then moving on into small business highlights, because we cannot talk about one businessman and then forget about small businesses as well. And so we were joined by Abby Alvarez talking about her family's small business, Alvarez Organics, and what that journey has been like. And I think that also speaks to what small business and even entrepreneurship is like. Sometimes you have to pivot and try again, and there are projects that don't always work out. And so in the case of the Alvarez family, they started with granolas. And of course, during the pandemic, that shifted and changed into offering other products, more organic products that you guys can choose from when you think of skincare, when you think of bug repellent, and now even on the verge of tapping into deodorants. And so we want to say a huge thank you to them for also stopping by, and also all the best to them as well. But that does it for our show this morning. We also have to say thank you to you guys for tuning in with us wherever you are. Whether you're tuning in locally or in the diaspora, thank you so much for joining us. It is January the 21st. And if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to ya. And if you'd like to give a birthday shout out, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram at OYE Belize. And get this, we even have a phone number now for you guys to send us a message and reach out to, whether you have questions, comments, even if you want to book a segment on the show here with us, you can reach us at 675-2555. And so please reach out to us. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow as well, when you open your eyes
to start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your mind,
and your hearts open.
Have a wonderful Tuesday. Bye.
Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank, and Smart, bringing people together.